welcome back to another episode of With Sonar. I'm Luke Velasquez. It's Wednesday at 4 p.m. where we dive into everything that Sonar has to offer and can tell you about the freight market. And of course, I am joined again by Kyle Taylor. It's great to have you again with me. We missed you last week, but here you are. Taking a little extra time off around the holidays?
Can't get rid of me. Can't get rid of me. It's, as much as you'd like to try, I'm back, and we are ready.
Been trying ever since you came to FreightWaves almost a year ago.
You know, I still get invited every week, and I am shocked every week that I get the invite. But I am honored.
You've been here almost a year now, right? We're coming up on your 1 year?
Yeah, 1 year will actually be next week.
Next week, okay.
Next week, yeah.
Good stuff.
Feels like the longest year of my life. I've aged probably 20 years in the 1 year.
That's a real thing, though. So, you know, like when I've worked at startups before I was at FreightWaves, and I've worked at non-startups. And like the startups, like if you're there for like a year, it may as well be 10 years that you're there. Like the amount of times that things change, like you've seen so much. You work at another company and you're there for a year and it's like a month at a startup. Like nothing, I mean, it's, things just.
I think it's because of so much change. So even in our time, you know, how many different people have come and gone, and then how many different processes have we seen come and go?
A lot of different processes. The product has changed a lot too.
Yeah. We've been on the same sales team, we've been off the same sales team, we've been back on the same sales team. So it's definitely been a very unique time. So I'm glad to have you back be on the same team with you.
Absolutely.
I mean, had to let you kind of come back. You know, you can kind of be the top dog now for a little bit, but not for long. Not for long. A little sales energy in here. I was watching Put That Coffee Down earlier today with Dooner and Kevin. So.
What did you learn? Anything from Put That Coffee Down?
Yeah, I mean
I almost said with coffee.
With coffee. Yeah, you're like Kevin on it because he had to pick the coffee up. He didn't know how to talk for a couple of seconds there. It happens to the best of us on these shows. But no, they're continuing. I like it. It's always sales focused now. So. Put That Coffee Down has always been, you know, the best sales podcast, at least for the freight industry that I've seen. And so they were just talking about objection handling today. So something that we're all facing, everyone, even you all who are watching us. And if you are watching us, leave us a comment below, and we'd love to, you know, walk through a little bit of what you're seeing, and we'll dive through Sonar a little bit of what's going on.
Absolutely. Ask questions. We will definitely get to them throughout the show. Maybe not immediately, but we will try to get to as many of them as possible, whether you're on LinkedIn or Facebook. We'll try to get to as many as possible. I think, so let's talk about sales for a minute, because there's a lot of data in Sonar that can actually help with sales. We're going to get to a couple of things. We're definitely going to talk about the bounce that we've seen since the 4th of July and how that's reacting to the freight market. But what about, is it a good time to be in transportation sales? If you're working for a 3PL or a carrier, is now a good time to go after shippers? I mean, rejections are super high, rates are going high, capacity is really tight, everybody knows that. But everybody's so busy right now.
Right.
Is now a good time to?
It's tough. I've been in that seat in a while. Can you imagine, I mean, I remember having my struggles when I was a broker, just trying to get through to people. And even then, I mean, this is only about 3 years ago that I was a broker, and you know, I had issues getting people on the phone then, but we don't have the tools that we have now. We weren't really using LinkedIn as much as we are now. So I feel like you do have more opportunities to get in front of people. But like you said, volumes are through the roof. That means shippers are shipping, whether or not that's coming from the warehouse or whether or not that's coming from actual products that are getting manufactured here in the United States. But it definitely is something that's an issue right now. So what I feel like most people are doing are just doubling down on the customers they have.
Yeah. No, so definitely just trying.
You have the contact there, so if you can try to prove out, I mean, you're not gonna go through, you know, find a new customer unless you kind of already had things planned beforehand. It's like the lulls that you find in seasonality of sales. I mean, summertime usually you see a slowdown because a lot of people are out on vacation. I didn't realize how many people took vacation until you start working in sales. It's like, really, you're taking a week off? Huh?
Must be nice.
I wonder what that's like. You know, so. But
no, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of folks that are doubling down on their customers because the volume is high. But you know, I think now's probably a good time to go after sales, right? I mean, now's the time where shippers don't have capacity. You're probably going to have a really hard time getting somebody on the phone. The shippers are working pretty much nonstop trying to get the products moving, right? You're going to have a hard time. But if you can tackle the places, sales is all about timing, right? If you get somebody on the phone, if you know who to target, and you can land it just right, if you can focus your attention a little bit more, you might be able to land, just have a better success rate, just slightly, right? If you can land one more customer a month, I mean, what does that do for your operation financially?
Yeah, I mean, our EVP, Mike Caney, talks about it all the time. You know, it's all about, it's a numbers game in the sales organization. So how can we, you know, find more opportunities to go after, and then how can we get these for shippers? How can we get, you know, the infamous pennies lead to dollars, dollars leads to millions of dollars. And but yeah, it's a numbers game. And so what are you going to look at that no one else is looking at? I mean, everyone, the number one platform for all sales reps, as much as you probably will say no, I'm sure you'll all agree, is Google. You know, so I used to do proximity searches. I used to look at how can I take the book of business that I have now, the products that I know really well, and how can I go find new customers? And so what we've actually started noticing, I think it's the best way, or not just the best way, but why us having our experience from the broker's perspective, we can really define how you can use this tool as a sales tool. Because more and more, I mean, we're even hearing it this week, our watermarks are showing up everywhere. Yeah. So it's all about how are you going to use this data in order to make you better. And so, you know.
And there's a lot of opportunity out there right now. I mean, we're looking at volume levels, the tender volume level. We're more than 20% higher than where we were this time last year.
Right.
And about 20% higher than where we were in 2018. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that's huge.
And Christopher C is an agent, an owner-operator, who said it's really hard out here from his standpoint. So even from the owner-operator's perspective, I mean, I can imagine if you're relying on brokers or just trying to rely on yourself. How do
Chris, can you elaborate? When you say hard, is it hard to find loads, just hard to find a spare moment? What? Any context you can give us there? Love to dive into that.
Right. Is it just, you know, rate per mile, or, you know, what are we kind of talking here? Because there's a lot of aspects.
Negotiating, right? Like what's going on there? Because there's a lot with that, right? I mean, you've got folks that are, you know, there are definitely aspects in industries where things aren't amazing or things aren't going through the roof, right? Not every area is experiencing this. But like I used to move a lot of freight for the entertainment industry when I was in brokerage. They're not doing a whole lot right now.
You were an entertainer?
I was, well, depending on who you ask, I'm always an entertainer.
Yeah.
But no, I used to move a lot of freight for the entertainment industry. I did a lot with live shows and whatnot. And you know, they're just not moving a lot right now. So I would not have had a lot of extra business right now from them. I would have had to find new customers. Yeah,
well, Chris said new customers, just getting someone on the phone.
Just getting somebody on the phone. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. No, it's definitely a tough time with everybody busy. But the volume's out there. Like, there's definitely volume to be moved. And I think, you know, if we can show maybe where the best areas of opportunity are. Unfortunately, I can't make somebody answer the phone, but we can maybe at least show you where to focus your efforts.
Right.
Let's just do that right now, real quick. Let's flip up Sonar real quick. Got a map of the United States here. I know you wanted to take a look at this, Kyle. This is the dry van tender rejection rates in every market.
Right.
You know, broken up. So the darker the blue means tender rejections are higher. So that means, like, if we're over here in, I don't know, wherever this is, we've got was that Memphis?
Yeah.
That 26 to 26% of all contracted loads are being rejected in Memphis right now.
I love this.
1 out of 4 loads. That means that shippers have to find an extra 25% of capacity, probably on the spot market, to get their loads covered.
Yep.
I'd be calling people there.
Yeah, and I think even if, so this is extremely impactful. This is telling you what are route guides doing, how compliant are these our shippers' route guides in these areas. Because if you've followed us and if you've heard our methodology and what we really view from our data's perspective, it is coming from the contracted freight market. And so these are loads that are moving in 2 days, because the average tender lead time is about 2.5 days right now. So you're seeing like a forward-looking indicator to what's going on the contracted market. And then the darker the blue here, the more volume you're going to see being rejected.
Yep.
That goes to the spot market.
Yep.
That gets tumbled down through service. So service starts to fall for these shippers. Freight cost goes up, and then you see the rate per mile start to go up with that as well. I mean, it's really, it's a leading indicator to what's going to be happening on the spot market.
It absolutely is. I was actually talking with a shipper yesterday, and they've got a couple of DCs around the country, but one of them is in Houston, right? And they were saying, let's actually just look at Houston real quick. So tender rejection rates for drive-in are at 18% right now out of Houston, right? That's pretty high. That's right about in line with the national average, but that's for a market the size of Houston, that's substantial, right? To have to find an extra 20% of your capacity almost, right? And what's happening is, they're sending, they have contracted rates, but their carriers aren't taking them at the contracted rates, right? The carriers have a lot of other options, right? So, Chris, if you can focus and you can find these areas here, these real hotspots where shippers are having difficulty, again, you can't guarantee they're going to get on the phone, but if you do, you're going to have the best luck at converting somebody in these areas, because those are the areas where the shippers are having the most trouble.
Right, and I think to just take this one step further, this is why this tender data is so good, and also why all those nerds we got in the back are so good as well, those data scientists, is that you can actually throw on like the weighted tender rejection.
Yeah, let's do that.
Or even make this a 3D map if you wanted to look at two indices. But instead of putting up two indices, we have a weighted tender rejection indice. And so what that does is it's taking that tender rejection data that we have, and then it also pairs it with what's going on, what the market share of that specific market is. And so why that's significant is that, what's the market we always was at up in Montana or Bismarck, North Dakota.
Like I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, is that even though tender rejection?
If you're from Bismarck, North Dakota, I'm sure it's home to you, but it's a long ways. It's kind of like somewhere in northern parts of Alaska, right?
Or North Dakota.
Or Bismarck, North Dakota.
Yeah. And so it's pairing those two things. So we get the tender rejections, and then it also is looking at the market share. And so the reason why we did that is that with the larger market share, pairing that with the tender rejections is going to have a larger weightedness to it. That's going to say this is actually where you need to look, because with a higher tender rejection in a significant market will show you the best opportunity for you to find higher rates or new opportunities, or to be able to validate what you're seeing to your customers.
Or vice versa. Maybe you're a shipper and it's the opposite effect. Maybe because the market is super tight right now, it's not tight absolutely everywhere and to the same extremes. There are areas that are softening right now. Not a lot, but there are. So if I'm a shipper, I might want to know that too, so I can make decisions, because maybe I'm doing something in Houston and things are really getting tight there. Right. But I haven't, like Phoenix, things are starting to loosen again. Right. So I know that I can make different decisions. Right. If we go ahead and flip up the map real quick, this is the weighted rejection index. So what this does is the markets in blue, it's definitely driven by that increase in tender rejections, but it weights it differently. It looks at the size of the market, the volume, the market share, what's going on around it, the rejections. It combines a lot of that. Because a really high rejection rate in a market with very few loads, like Bismarck, North Dakota, it is not going to have the same impact that a few rejections in a market like LA. There's a lot of volume. So that's what this does. So in this example, the markets in blue are where there's a lot of tightening happen. You would expect increase in rates, tightening of capacity. Markets in red is the opposite effect. It's loosening. Capacity is going down. Now keep in mind, this is a 7-day change that it's looking at here. So the markets in white, that's not to say that the markets in white or the markets in red are tight or loose. It just means over the last 7 days, the markets in white haven't changed a whole lot. The markets in red have loosened a little bit over the last 7 days, and the markets in blue are getting tighter from where they were over the last 7 days.
And even if you wanted to look at it a different way, so like let's throw up the 3D map. I know you don't love the 3D map. Let's get some volumes. OTVI, your favorite W. You can throw on weekly. It's okay.
I want to throw a little OTVI W, and then let's do V. Let's do Van.
And then let's compare that with OTRI. And so while you're doing that, and we're bringing this up, this is just another way for you to answer, to look at the same data in a different way. We're getting a couple more comments. This is a great day for comments. We're getting a lot of feedback up here. It's it just goes to show it must be yours truly being back in the spotlight.
Oh goodness, folks.
welcome back. And but Verity,
feel free to humble Kyle a
Yeah.
little bit in the comments. Folks.
We got a big old piece of humble pie right here that we're waiting to eat. But Verity, coming from MX Logistics, says they look a lot in the flatbed sector, and they're not seeing the volumes.
Well, you know what? That may not be that surprising. So let's flip over here to the graph. So this graph that we're looking at here, right? This is the overall volume level in the United States. Notice the blue line for a second. That's the truckload volume level year to date.
Yep.
The green line and the orange line are truckload volume levels in 2018 and 2019. Mm-hmm. So you can see volume levels are about 20% higher. Now this is overall volume, flatbed, reefer, van, right?
Right.
Let's look at the rejection rates in flatbed. And let's compare that to van and reefer.
Mm-hmm. And while you're bringing that up, I mean, we're even seeing tender rejection rates starting to fall for the flatbed market, and so you're definitely seeing not as much competition for capacity there, so volumes are coming back down.
Yeah, this right here. So the green line, that's reefer tender rejection rates. So basically, over 20% of all reefer loads are being rejected due to that increase in volumes and tightening of capacity. The purple line is dry van, so they're at over 18%, so right along there with the reefer. That blue line, that's flatbed. So they had a tiny little pop here around 4th of July, but that disappeared as quickly as it came, and it's been slow pretty much the whole time. And it's very low right now. So unfortunately, flatbed is not seeing the same pop that van and reefer are.
Right.
Sorry, I wish it wasn't the case. I wish you could get in on the rise.
Right? Yeah. No, that's
If you have some van trailers, I'd hook them up.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough industry to be in for that segment because I mean even our economist Anthony Smith was talking about orders are slowly coming back up.
Yep.
But the flatbed sector is ultimately getting really hit by this. But you would think that there is a big increase in demand of people buying homes, but we just can't supply the.
Right. So I think the flatbed sector, though, it's typically it trickles down. Right. They're not usually delivering to homes. It's more so they might be delivering a lot of goods to sometimes construction sites or doing it or sending it to the suppliers, right? And then sometimes they'll send it directly to the customers. But so they're a little bit further upstream to move via flatbed.
Yeah, and even
there's just a lot less projects going on right now with the COVID money. A lot of companies aren't spending quite as much right now. With consumers, they'll chuck it on the credit card. They get a little bit of stimulus money. They're a little bit more reactionary, right? They pivot a lot faster. I think we'll probably see volume levels come up as once commercial spending picks up again. We're not quite there yet. We'll see. There's a lot of PPP money starting to come in. Yep. Maybe that will have an effect. It's hard to tell, but I think that sector is getting hit a little bit harder right now.
Yeah, and even I just looked up like the 7-day flatbed all-in rate for that truck stop gives us for the flatbed sector, and that all-in rate is really dropping.
Yeah.
And so even from, I think it was for Atlanta to Dallas, at the peak of 4th of July weekend, it was up to like $1,650, and now we're down to $1,440.
That's Atlanta to Dallas?
That's Atlanta to Dallas.
Yeah, so it's dropping quite a bit.
Yeah, and so, price really being the end equation or the end of the equation, really volumes, sentiment dictating what price does. So seeing that rates are falling is really telling you that there's not a lot of volume out there.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's definitely difficult right now. I mean, and it's hard to say whether that's going to change now or later. I mean, at some point it will have an effect. Things will alter a little bit, but we're not quite there yet for the flatbed sector. So it'll be, but we'll keep an eye on the rejection rates. We'll keep an eye on some of the volume rates on some of the lanes. Right now it's softening, but time will tell where it goes. But right now, a lot of tightening in a lot of areas, especially in Texas. If you're moving flatbed stuff or dry van stuff, a lot of tightening in Texas right now. Now, Kyle, you wanted me to pull up this 3D map here.
Whoa! Look at that thing. That's so high tech.
Goodness. I mean, yeah, it looks amazing, but so Kyle, here's what we got.
This is my favorite.
Oh, okay.
I like it. You may not like it.
I pulled it up. Let me explain.
Okay.
Goodness gracious here. Okay. Yeah, there's two people here, Kyle. See, this is, Kyle, it's like all about him, and then, there's other people in the world too. All right.
What's your name?
Yes. Can I get you a coffee or anything?
Go right ahead.
Yeah. No, so what we're looking at, the color on the map, so the color represents dry van tender rejection weekly change.
Right.
The height on the map, so if you can see here, there's different heights for certain things. You can see how elevated some markets are and some are not. That's the van outbound tender rejection weekly change. So the color is volume, the height is rejections, right?
Right.
So what you can see here is Grand Junction is seeing a big old increase in volume. Now their tender rejections are starting to come up too. There's definitely some height there, as you can see, so they are correlated, but the volume levels have increased far more than the rejections. So what I imagine we'll see is, well, if volume levels hold, because typically volume levels bump a little bit first, and then you'll start to see rejections come.
Right.
So if volume levels continue to hold out of Grand Junction, you'll probably see rejections rise along with that. And as everybody realizes that capacity is tightening up, they'll be like, great, we can reject some freight, maybe increase our spot market rates, and hopefully make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Is that where you're going with this? Now that
I live and die by the tall blues, and that's exactly right.
Tall blues.
Tall blues. We started this whole spiel with how can we find more opportunities, and that's how you do it. You're looking for new opportunities. I don't know where to call, but boss, there's no freight out there. Oh, no one's answering my phone call. Well, this is how you can better define exactly what your sales team's doing. You start this, because it's a weekly change on the color. We're seeing how these volumes are changing week over week. We'll just give you a good identification for what's going on. Who would have thought, hey, why don't you call Tallahassee? Who would have thought? We got some van increases there. So,
right.
Just going to show you, more opportunity, the more data you have that you can make relevant, and this is just another way.
Look at this. Let me click on Tallahassee real quick. Check this out. This is look at that. So look at that bump there, week over week. So this is van volume levels out of Tallahassee. It doubled week over week. It's not quite where its height was here in the middle of June, but it's coming back up pretty quickly.
Right.
I mean, it's definitely jumping up there a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, just catching that stuff as soon as it happens.
Exactly. And so, that's a great opportunity even from a carrier's perspective, because now what are you seeing if you have to take a load out of Florida, and don't we all hate...
Not quite as bad as it normally is.
Not as bad. It's bad, because I've made that trek from Tampa to Gainesville to Tallahassee, and for some reason that additional 2 hours from Gainesville to Tallahassee is just brutal.
Yeah.
But it's... But yeah, it just goes, maybe you have more options now. Maybe you don't have to go up to Savannah to stay on the East Coast. Maybe you're trying to go back to the West Coast. Maybe you're trying to hit Dallas. Maybe you're trying to, get back to that side of the country. This is a way for you to identify, what's my next route going to be.
Yeah, exactly. Just giving yourself some options, hopefully streamlining some of that decision making.
Giving you guys nuggets out here. If you guys are stuck in Florida, look in Tallahassee.
I don't know, man. This right here, this stuff, this is like a steak wrapped in gold. Right here, knowing this type of stuff. Have you ever had gold on food before? That's like the latest trend now.
No, I haven't.
If you want to cough up a lot of money, that is. Yeah. That I don't have.
I know I look like I'm made of money, but I'm really not. But so no, I have not had gold wrapped steak.
I want to have that at some point.
I'm sure Reed, our director, has. He's a big ribeye guy, and I saw he liked I think he liked this video. So Reed, if you're out there.
Yeah,
you a golden
There's
wrapped
a few
ribeye.
restaurants out there. They'll get this thin gold leaves, and they'll wrap it around your steak. It'd be like a $500-$600 steak, but you can do that.
If that's what you're into.
That's basically the value.
I like paying my rent. I'm not going to spend all that money on the steak, but.
Anyways, good stuff. Well, there's also a lot, I've been looking up here too, Grand Rapids, Michigan, a lot of activity up there. Van volumes are up 42%, rejections are up almost 9%. Another market that's heating up. Big car parts, a lot of cars, car parts, and all that going on up here in Michigan. Haven't seen that in Detroit. It's just Grand Grand Rapids right now.
Well, if we're gonna, we got some time to talk about it. I mean, what do you think about the Ford Bronco? What do you think about the Bronco? Crashed their website.
So
Stock price is up like 15% from 3 days ago.
Yep.
So,
I didn't like the two-door at all.
No.
Hated that. The Sport was okay,
I like the Sport.
and the four-door was nice.
So you would rather? So I was actually
Four-door was
leaning.
nice.
I'm leaning. I was really let down that the Sport isn't available yet. Not that
Are any of them available
They're
yet?
not available, but to put it down or a deposit on.
Okay.
So the two-door and the four-door you can get a deposit on that are, I think, end of 2020 that they're projecting that those would be available for.
Yeah.
Which means if you're in the automotive industry, that would be like a sliver of hope that if website's crashing, if my customer is Ford and we're hauling stuff from Laredo all the way up to Michigan or up to Chicago to go over to Michigan, seeing that they're definitely going to be amping production in order to service all of these orders that are coming out at the end of 2020.
Definitely.
I like the Sport. I'm thinking about the Sport.
All right, so I'm gonna say something here that might be a little controversial.
Oh. Hold on to your computers, people.
Cybertruck or the Bronco. I'd be getting me one of them Tesla Cybertrucks if I had to choose between the two.
I wouldn't go.
I
with
know the
Cybertruck.
Bronco is not really a truck, and some people argue the Cybertruck's not even a truck either. But come on, let's just, since we're here, let's make a couple of liberties.
I would not do it. So if I had the opportunity, I would prefer Tesla, but I would not prefer the Cybertruck.
No, you have to choose.
I have to choose the Cybertruck.
Cybertruck or a Bronco.
Probably the Cybertruck. If I had to choose right now, if they were like parked out in the lot because no one's got them yet, but yeah, it'd definitely be the Cybertruck.
Yeah. I wouldn't be disappointed with either option.
Wouldn't be mad about not having to pay for gas.
That's true. That is also true.
Like,
So I haven't heard. So the Cybertruck, like the bed that like covers the bed, the awning which rolls out, that can actually it's got some solar powered panels on it, supposedly. I don't know if it's official yet, but that's what they're planning on adding. That can help fuel the truck or power the truck. I guess not fuel. Sun powered fuel. Anyways,
you are a lunatic.
I know we're getting here towards the end of time. Are there any final questions here before we close that we need to address?
Oh man, yeah. So let's see. Not a lot of questions. So Zach, World Heavy Freight Champion of the World, said great info.
That's a fantastic title.
I know, right?
How do I get that title?
Right? Great info and resource on the market. Really appreciate it. Alan Johnson, Regional Manager at JNR, said, I love the map. You're welcome. I told you to go with the 3D map.
First off, I pulled up the map first. I would just like to point that out. I'll give you 10%
Christopher
credit.
C said it's not gold, it's shredded cheese on that steak. And then he actually said it's a baby from the Hummer and the Jeep is what the
baby from the Hummer and the Jeep. I like that.
So if the Hummer and the Jeep made a baby, it would be the Bronco.
But you've actually got different versions. So like the old Jeep Cherokee that was a little bit more boxy, and the Hummer, that's like the four-door Bronco.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And then you've got like the new Jeep Cherokee is a lot more rounded. That's a little bit more like the sport Bronco.
Yeah, so you got like the Luke type of Bronco, bulky, two-door, and then you got the sport.
The four-door with two-door? Like, come on. I have friends. I can fit people in.
I got, best friend's my wife.
Yeah.
Best friend is my 2-year-old.
All right, get out of here. We're getting to the end of time. Folks, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate the comments and all the feedback on social media. We will see you all again next Wednesday at 4 p.m. Have a fantastic week, and we're off.